Welcome to another edition of Morning Brew. I'm your host, Will Brewer. We're fresh off of a nice UFC 288 card in Newark, New Jersey. Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. It was a phenomenal night of fights. Um, you know, when you have the level of pay-per-view quality that we've had since 284, there's a little bit of a drop off, and you see a lot of people on Twitter and everything who had a lot of negative to say about this card. But I was hyped from the beginning, and I thought it delivered for what it was. It was a phenomenal night of fights. Aljamain Sterling is still the UFC bantamweight champion. Um, it was a close split decision fight against Henry Cejudo. I mean, you see differing opinions on it. A lot of people thought that Henry won. A lot of people thought that Aljo won. Looking at it from my point of view, uh, it was a very close fight. But I thought Aljo controlled the majority of the rounds. I thought I gave round one, round two, and round four for Aljo, and I felt pretty good about those. And I thought three was close. I thought three could have went either way, but I edged it to Henry Cejudo, and I thought five was the clearest round of the entire fight, and I scored that one for Henry Cejudo. I think everyone outside of one judge, Derek Cleary, thought that Henry won that round. But it was a phenomenal fight. I was very impressed by what I saw from Aljamain Sterling. Um, it looked like Henry Cejudo had a hard time with the range, with Aljo's reach, with how big he was. But I was impressed with Henry, how he looked off of a 3-year layoff. It wasn't easy what he did. He went in against the best guy that we have at bantamweight right now, and a lot of people thought that he won. I'm not gonna say that it was a clear Aljo win, because the fight was that close. If Henry Cejudo would have won that fight, if the judges would have gave it to him, I wouldn't have had any issues with it, because I thought both guys fought very well. But at the end of the day, I did think that the right guy won in Aljamain Sterling. It was a great fight between two high level guys, and Henry proved in a loss that he's still that guy. He's still one of the best guys in the world. He started out at flyweight, became the bantamweight champion, he was the flyweight champion first, of course, won the bantamweight title, and then defended it against Dominic Cruz. But I always was under the impression that at some point the size difference would become an issue, and I thought that this was the fight that it showed itself with Aljamain Sterling. I thought that his his karate style, it works, but with a guy like Aljo, you need to get inside. You need to get inside that reach, and I felt like he had a hard time, even though he did perform very, very well. But it was a very close fight, very good fight. I was very happy for Aljo. It was his first main event. Can you believe that? His very first main event ever in his entire UFC career. All the fights that he's had, all the non-title bouts that he's had, the Corey Sandhagen fight, Pedro Munoz fight, then of course the Peter Yan title fight, the second Peter Yan title fight, TJ Dillashaw, so like all these fights, and he still never had a main event until this Henry Cejudo fight. And I thought he handled it well throughout fight week, and then got the job done on Saturday. So I was very impressed by what I saw from Aljo. Now, spinning it forward, I think it's clear what's next. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. I think that's a very interesting fight. I think Aljo has a clear route to victory, but as does Sean O'Malley. We know what both guys are going to want to do. I think that especially after what we saw in the post fight with Marab and the jacket and Sean O'Malley getting in the cage and all that different stuff, It's only going to make for a bigger fight. It's going to make for more intrigue for the fight. I'm very excited for it. I'm hearing, of course, we all heard Dana say that he's looking at August for that fight. I think it makes a ton of sense. But Aljo said that he's looking more towards September. So I mean, whenever we can get it, I'm all for it. I can't wait for that fight, Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley. But I think the bigger question is what happens with Henry. He took his gloves off, and I thought dude was out. I was like, man, he's gonna retire again. But you know, um, when you're a combat athlete of the level of Henry Cejudo, you take losses very hard. And I'm sure he took that loss pretty hard. But it took him a few days. But then he was back on Twitter being his normal cringy self, and barking back at Connor, talking about Merab. I think the Merab fight makes a lot of sense, especially since Merab isn't looking to fight for the title anytime soon, especially with Aljo talking about he's gonna, fight Sean O'Malley. I think that fight makes a ton of sense. Merab's not gonna want to fight Umar Nurmagomedov or someone of that caliber. Someone who's ranked so low in the rankings. He's going to want to fight a Corey Sandhagen or a Henry Cejudo. I think those two fights make a ton of sense for Merab at this point. So sign me up for Merab and Henry Cejudo. I think that would be very interesting. It would be very interesting to see how Henry deals with someone who is as relentless as Merab trying to wrestle him. I think, a lot of people would look at the wrestling credentials of Henry Cejudo and say Merab's not going to stand a chance to get him down. I beg to differ. I really think that if Merab has that same pressure style, he's going to be able to get to Henry. And then, of course, it's not even about getting the takedown. It's about having having Merab's opponents fight off the takedowns. Merab is relentless. He doesn't let you breathe. So I think that just that fight, it would be very interesting to see if Henry can keep him off of him. And then if he's able to open up. We haven't seen anybody really be able to open up. Like we saw Aldo. All he did was defend takedowns. He was barely able to be offensive. Same thing with Peter Yan. He was barely able to be offensive because Merab was just so relentless with his work. The only guy was Marlon Moraes, and Marlon Moraes almost put him out. But after that, it was pretty much the same Merab that we see. So I'm curious to see if Henry, he's got 5 rounds back in the cage after 3 years off. We'll see if it is Merab that he fights. We'll see if those 5 rounds is enough for him to fight a guy like Merab, a style like Merab. I'm very curious to see how that style would work out. But phenomenal main event. Aljamain Sterling is still your UFC bantamweight champion, and he's one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. We can't argue that anymore. Do I put him above Cruz? I don't know, because Cruz did so much in the WEC, and people, a lot of people don't really acknowledge that much because it's the UFC, and we want to put all of our thoughts into the UFC run. Cruz, his UFC run has been marred with injuries. So, I remember the WEC Dominic Cruz. I remember when he first came over and the fight that he had with Uriah Faber, the second fight, the close fight that was. I remember the third fight with Uriah Faber. I remember him taking the title back from TJ Dillashaw. I remember the Mizugaki fight. So Cruz is awesome. He's amazing. He's one. I think he probably is still the GOAT in my opinion. But I think the strength of schedule for Aljo just makes that discussion very good discussion and a very interesting one at that. So. But Aljamain Sterling is still your UFC bantamweight champion, and deservedly so. Your co-main event, Bilal Muhammad over Gilbert Burns. I mean, this was pretty much. It felt like a fight between two guys who were both hurt. I felt like Bilal was switching stances so much because he didn't want to take many kicks to that to that ankle. That ankle was damaged. Now, I thought that he would not use that ankle. I thought he wouldn't use that leg at all. But he was throwing power kicks to that ankle with that ankle, and really was effective with it. I thought that of course, Gilbert injured his shoulder in the first round with that takedown that he had on Bilal. But and then after that, it was just Bilal, and you could see how dejected that Gilbert Burns looked. It's something that he couldn't hide. He was a very damaged fighter. Um, it was tough to see because you respect both guys for what they did, getting back into this, getting back into, like Gilbert, for instance, jumping back into the octagon, and he just fought at 287 against Masvidal, and he fought against Magny at 283. So he's been a busy fighter. I think maybe it just caught up to him. But and then Bilal taking this fight on weeks' notice. I think it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice, cutting the weight, and then having that performance that he did while he was also injured. I give Bilal a lot of credit for that. I know a lot of people don't see it that way because Gilbert actually got hurt too. But I was calling for this fight for a while, Gilbert and Bilal. Even after I've been calling for this fight since he beat Luque. I thought that this fight made a ton of sense, but Gilbert still has that sexy name, so he was getting the Hamzat fight, he was getting the the Masvidal fight. So I thought that this Bilal fight may never materialize, but I thought this was the right time to do it. This card needed a co-main event after Oliveira and Dariush fell. But I think that with that Bilal, man, there's nowhere else for him to go besides a title shot. When that happens, I don't know, but I don't think he should fight any other contenders unless it's Colby Covington for an interim title. I think he's done fighting contenders, and he should wait for the title fight. I think he's earned it, and there's a story there with the Leon fight. So I think that makes a ton of sense with Bilal fighting Colby for the interim title, or just waiting for the winner of Colby and Leon. His next fight should be for a world title. But I also want to give tons and tons and tons of respect and love to Gilbert Burns for fighting those last 4 rounds with an injury. I hope he recovers soon. He tweeted about, or I don't know if he tweeted it or if the report came out, but of all of the injuries, and it did not look good. It was something with his neck and a whole bunch of tears in his shoulder. So you hate to see it, but it's the fight game. It comes to the territory, but I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope to see him back in there as soon as possible. Yan Xiaonan had an awesome victory over Jessica Andrade. It was a beautiful, beautiful knockout. I going into this fight, I kind of expected it to be more Andrade using her power and her strength to kind of just shut down everything that Yan Xiaonan brought to the table. But of course, the speed of Yan Xiaonan really shone through in this fight. And I didn't think that we would see someone drop Jessica Andrade at 115. It was pretty wild. I was very impressed. She got the knockout, and now it makes a ton of sense. There's nowhere else for Yan Xiaonan to go besides fighting Zhang Weili. I mean, I know we haven't seen Amanda Lemos and what she's going to do next, but I know that Amanda Lemos had lost to Andrade, and since then, Yan Xiaonan has done more. It seems like she's the number one contender, and I think a fight between Weili and Yan Xiaonan just makes a ton of sense, especially for the Chinese market. Put that in China. I would love to see it. Stylistically, it's very, very pleasing. I would love to see that fight. And then to wrap it up, Matt Frivola had an awesome knockout of Drew Dober. Drew Dober, the knockout of Bobby Green, I kind of thought that was just going to catapult him into another level. But this whole time, Matt Frevola has been elevating his game, and it kind of seemed like Drew Dober was taking him a little lightly. And for Matt Frevola, this was the biggest fight of his career, and it kind of seemed like this was just another one on the docket for Drew Dober. And Matt Frevola was hurting him early. He was marking his face up early. He had been talking about his boxing improvements with Ray Longo, and it really shone through. Dropped Drew Dober. Like, Drew Dober looks like the Crimson Chin from the Fairly Odd Parents, and I really didn't think that anybody would ever be able to crack that chin. But then, of course, he drops him and then closes the show. Drew Dober protested. Of course, he's a fighter. Everyone's going to protest. He always felt like, he had more in him, but it was just a phenomenal victory for Matt Frevola. I think he's now in the rankings. So very awesome win. I can't wait to see what's next for him. There's no shortage of fun matchups out there for Matt Frevola. So now, as we spin this forward, we're going into UFC Charlotte on ABC, headlined by Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida. 6 fights on the main card. And, I've been saying that, I'm going to start bringing guests in, and I am very honored, and I'm very happy to be joined by my guy, Cody Wimpke, a.k.a. Blood Money MMA Bets. And he is here with me now. What is going on, my brother?
What's up, Will? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for joining me. How's everything going?
Good, man. Just got off work a little bit ago, off for the weekend now, so I'm doing good, man.
Man, like I said, I appreciate you joining me, man. UFC Charlotte, we've got 5 fights on the main card. Now, you're notorious for your bets. Now, when you look at the layout of this card, what kind of stuck out to you early? Like, oh, that's a bet that I definitely got to put my money
on. The easy one, to be honest, on this one, because usually I don't do too many parlays, but like Carl Williams and Uhlberg, man, like that just stuck out to me as kind of easy money. I feel like both of them should dominate their opponents. And then it's really, like, honestly, it's kind of a tough card to bet. It looks like an easy card to bet, but I feel like it's a tough card to bet. I put that bet in, and then I went and put my other 3 bets in today, and it was tough to figure out and get them down because there's so many good bets. It looks like the Uhlberg under 1.5, the Walker and that under 1.5, and then the Almeida under 1.5. But man, I could see both of them fights going a little, or all 3 of them even going a little longer. So I don't know. The easy bets on this one, I didn't see too many, to be honest, besides that Williams, Uhlberg. And then, I mean, you can throw Almeida in, but I think he's still got a tough fight with Rozenstruik. You know what I mean? That's a very tough opponent. So
yeah, let's run down this card. You got Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Jailton Almeida in the main event. Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker is your co-main event. Daniel Rodriguez and Ian Gary, great fight. Featured bout. You got Carlos Alberg and E.R. Putiera, and then Alex Morono and Tim Means. That's your main card. Of course, your prelims: Matt Brown, Court McGee, Carl Williams, Chase Sherman, Cody Stamen, Douglas Silva, Dion Drage, Natan Levy, Pete Rodriguez, Kim Gian. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Against Mandy Bohm, Brian Battle, and Gabriel Green, Jessica Rose Clark, and Tianara Lisboa. I hope I didn't butcher that. But phenomenal card. It's an ABC card, so it's early. So kind of, if you don't mind, run down all of your bets, man, and what do you got on the docket for us?
Okay, so you want me to go through the picks real quick?
Yeah. Run down your picks for me, please.
Okay. So the first fight, let me find this first one, is Jessica Rose Clark, right? That's a weird fight, man. I actually, like, it's weird. I'm actually kind of high on Jessica Rose Clark. I know the whole market changed, And now that Lisboa is a favorite, but it doesn't make any sense to me because like I don't know what anybody's betting on her and basing anything off of because she's like got Muay Thai. But if you watch her Muay Thai fights, they're all over super old. Like she fought Shevchenko like 13 years ago. But if you watch any of her MMA fights, which it's hard to even find them, you can find the Dumont one and a couple other ones. But um, she got choked out by Dumont. She looked kind of good standing up, and I know a lot of people say that like she was like giving Dumont all these problems, and Dumont's like the number two 145-pound girl in the world, but like they were both 0-0 at the time, and Dumont's a grappler, so she was getting outstruck a little bit. As soon as she got the fight to the ground, she got the submission. Um, and then Lisboa hasn't beat a girl with a winning record since then. So I mean, and the one time she fought a 2-1 girl, she got beat. Sarah or Jessica Rose Clark, people are low on her. She was big favorites in her last two fights that she lost, but she fought them girls that were just good with the armbar. But I think she's going to be able to strike with Lisboa. It's not like Lisboa is coming in and she's some kind of crazy killer and striking. And if Jessica Rose Clark can't get it to the ground, it's over. I think that Jessica Rose Clark will be able to strike with her, but her grappling is going to be way better. Like her wrestling is going to be way better than Lisboa. And I think she's going to be able to get the fight down. I think she takes a decision. I don't see her finishing her, but I really do like Jessica Rose Clark, and it stuns me that the line's flipping like it has. She started off like minus 180. Now the other girl's a favorite. She's never beat a girl with a winning record. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people are just kind of low on Jessica Rose Clark just because of those last two losses. It's a what have you done for me lately type of world
Yep.
that we're living in with this MMA world. But I do think that's a good fight for Jessica Rose Clark to get back on track. A fight I definitely wanted to get your opinion on: Cody Stamann and Douglas Silva de Andrade. I mean, I look at this fight, and I think both these guys are really good. Cody Stamann I think he's just always on the brink of breaking into the rankings, and then just he'll have a fight, and then against a guy who's basically top 15 caliber. It's that fight to get right into there, and he always comes up short. And then Douglas
Yep.
Silva de Andrade I just feel like he's so good, and nobody ever really talks about him. Like the
Yep.
guy's only got like 3 or 4 losses, but I mean, he's pretty much solid everywhere. I think the matchup between him and Cody Stamann is very, very good. What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, it's a really good fight, and like you said, De Silva, he only has a couple losses, and they're to like legit dudes, man. Like Saeed Nurmagomedov, Piotr Yan, like I forget he's fought somebody else really really good and lost to, LaRon Murphy. So
Yeah.
all his losses are good, and he really didn't get beat up in none of them. They were all super close fights. I actually think he can win this fight, to be honest. I bet Cody Stamann last fight against Luan Lacerda, and I feel like I got lucky getting that decision because I don't know if he really won that fight. His stand up's okay. If he can't get his wrestling going and somebody's got better stand up, they beat him, like Jimmy Rivera, like any of his losses besides like Aljamain, who just straight up submitted him. But I think Douglas Silva de Andrade can stop the wrestling, and I think he's got better striking. Like I think he's going to land bigger shots and be able to win this fight, especially as an underdog. And I really wanted to bet him. And I didn't bet him today. But I really did. As an underdog, I think he's one of the better underdogs on this card.
So that's your blood money dog of the week. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, because that's what I gave out. Yep, and put it in my top 10 bets on my Patreon. So yeah, man, definitely.
So this heavyweight fight next, Carl Williams and Chase Sherman. We were supposed to get that a few weeks ago. That fight fell off, but now we're getting it here. It's on the prelims. Chase Sherman, I believe, was scheduled to fight. I forget his name. The guy that does the flips.
Oh yeah, Chris Barnett. A couple
Chris
weeks ago.
Barnett. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight Chris Barnett, and I thought that was going to be a tough fight for Chris Barnett. But you bring in a Carl Williams who is just the complete opposite.
He is,
just he's about 6'5", chiseled. I think this is just a completely different matchup. So you got Chase Sherman, who is a veteran, and Carl Williams, who's kind of new to the UFC. How do you see that one going?
I really like this Carl Williams kid, man. He showed great wrestling, great cardio, great toughness. Even when he's tired, he pushes through it. Chase Sherman, he might have like decent takedown defense against lower level guys, but I really feel like Carl Williams got good wrestling, and he keeps going. He keeps pushing the wrestling, and he's going to be able to dominate this fight. Like that's another weird thing. Like I wanted to bet the over in this because a lot of Carl Williams fights go to decisions, and Chase Sherman, to be honest, like a lot of his go to decision. But he's so bad on the ground. Like Chase Sherman's not good on the ground, and he's big and he's slow. And I think that at one point, maybe like Carl Williams takes him down a couple times, Chase Sherman gets up. But I feel like at some point he's going to take him down in the second round or something. And Chase Sherman just accepts it and then just takes a ground and pound beating or something, man, because he's just not good on the ground. And he's got bad cardio too.
Now, do you feel like Chase Sherman's UFC experience will factor into this fight at all, or do you just think Carl Williams, like that's not going to play a factor, and Carl Williams will get it done?
Yeah, because like last time he fought another new dude basically in Waldo Acosta Cortez, and he just threw a beating on Chase. Like Chase is terrible. I think he's like 3-10 or something like that in the UFC. He beat Vandera. He'll beat like Rashad Coulter, like the lowest level of dudes that shouldn't really be in the UFC. But anytime
Right.
like I have high hopes for Carl Williams, man. I don't know if he's gonna constantly stay at heavyweight because he's fought at light heavyweight too. He's kind of like a little Jailton Almeida, like not as good because he doesn't have the jiu-jitsu, but he's like a big light heavyweight beating up these lower level heavyweights. But eventually they're gonna
Right.
hit a wall. Like, I mean, I don't know if Jailton Almeida is going to be able to go out and take like Curtis Blades down and just hold
Right.
him down and keep doing that. So, or Tom Aspinall or something, but they're going to go through these lower level guys quick, I think.
So, our featured prelim, Matt Brown, Court McGee, these guys have been around the block for a while, veterans of the game. When Matt Brown gets into the octagon, we always know that it's going to be fireworks. But Court McGee is a willing participant in these bangers. So when you look at this matchup, where do you see the advantages for both guys, and who do you have winning this one?
The advantage definitely for Matt Brown is in the standing. He's gonna have the advantage in the clinch too, because he's got excellent knees, excellent elbows, throws weird punches, throws nice punches with some good power standing. But his problem's always been grappling, and it's been takedown defense, get up game, that all that stuff. So I think that Court McGee, I think that he'll be able to survive the first round onslaught that Matt Brown brings, and then I think he's going to be able to get his grappling going, land some takedowns. I think Court, he as long as he's still in as great shape as he was in good shape against what's the dude that knocked it? Jeremiah Wells that knocked his head off. He was in great shape for that fight, and it was going to be a good fight if that didn't happen. But his two fights before that, Ramesh Brahmahaj and he beat somebody else too. Can't remember right now, but he used a lot of wrestling, a lot of grappling, and a phenomenal cardio. And I think he's going to do that here. That like this week when I looked at the fights, like I seen the Ulberg and the Carl Williams. I really like that parlay. I think that's easy money. I think they really dominate, clear past the victory. And then, so I liked Court McGee. He was minus 180 though. I didn't want to pay 180. I didn't want to pay like 360 to win two. So I just threw the other dudes on there. I threw Wilberg, Carl Williams. Like I said, I feel like, and I don't usually even do parlays, but I really do feel like them two dudes are easy money. And I don't even like to say it like that and knock on some wood.
Yeah,
I threw them with Court McGee though and got it at like plus 169. So save some money, and I just hope they come through.
So the main card is going to start Alex Morono and Tim Means. I think this is going to be another banger of a fight. We just saw Alex Morono. He fought at UFC 282 in December against Santiago. Yeah, and that was a banger of a fight. A fight that he almost won, but then eventually Santiago put him out. But it was a fight that he took on short notice. And then, Tim Means is always the entertaining fights. So to open up the main card with a banger like this on ABC, I'm all for it, man. So when you look at this matchup, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, man, I really like Alex Morono. I think he's a lot younger. Like I like Tim Means as a fighter. He's well-rounded, he's tough, but man, he's older now. he gets dropped with all kinds of punches. Like he had a chance to beat Max Griffin, but I think Max Griffin like broke his hand or something after the first round. But he would get dropped every round, like by little punches, weren't even big ones. And I like Alex Morono's movement. I like his like herky jerky striking. I think what, like you said, dude, he was throwing a beating on Ponzinibbio. I bet Ponzinibbio. I had him bet big, and he was losing that fight. He lost the first round, lost the second round, third round got wobbled, and then hit him with that lucky punch. But that was also Morono on like 3 days' notice. But I know MMA math don't always work, but Morono beat Max Griffin a couple years ago like pretty cleanly and clearly. So I just think that Morono's just younger, faster, super well rounded, and this is another one. Like I actually bet him, but they had the price too high. So I had him at, I haven't posted none of these. I went to the casino before I got home. Luckily I got off work early today. It all worked out perfect. So I threw Alex Morono minus 220 with the Jian Kim over 2.5 because them girls, like, they don't get finished and they're not very dangerous. So I added it for value. I hope it don't come back to bite me because, like I said, I'm not usually like that. I like to find straight bets, but I didn't like a lot of over-unders, and I didn't even like a lot of straight bets on this card at all, really. But I like Morono a lot here. The line's just super high.
So we got a light heavyweight bout next. We got Carlos Ulberg, city kickboxing guy, against Ior Potieria. Ulberg has really improved. I think that in Zechiku fight, he tried to put him out, and I think he just blew his wad, and then Kennedy caught him. Kennedy's he's shown to be that type of guy. Like, if you can't put him out, he's tough and he's going to come back with everything. I mean, we just saw that with Devin Clark. Yep. So, but since then, Ulberg has looked outstanding, and I think this is another fight that's going to really showcase him. And I think that's the reason why they put him on the main card, a city kickboxing guy with a stylistically pleasing matchup like this one. So I know you mentioned Carlos Ulberg a lot, so I assume that Ulberg is a big part of your bets this weekend.
Yeah, man, he's a dude that earned my respect because I want to say that I bet him against Kennedy. He landed 143 significant strikes in a round and a half in that fight before he got finished. Like, he literally hit him with everything and the kitchen sink. Kennedy's just so tough, dude. Like, he's going to be a problem, like, as he keeps going. Kennedy with that size and length, and just now he's mean too.
Crazy.
But yeah, man. I just 1 second. I got some other stats, but I don't know where the hell my paper went. I think it might be back here. But I don't understand where my paper went.
Now, is that Stone Cold Steve Austin there behind you with the middle finger?
Yeah, Stone Cold.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yep, I got a bunch. I got a Richard Pryor. You can't see. I got Pryor over here. Up here, I got the Izzy. Them's the ones I started with.
Oh,
Mike Tyson, Happy Face Killer.
Yes.
And I got the Izzy one over there. I got the Ali. I don't want to move it, but I got the Ali one over there. Fight Club, Joker. Yeah, man.
That is. See, you're obviously telling me that I need to put some stuff behind me because this is kind of dead right now. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, man. I had to, dude. You just build little things as you go. When I first started a year and a half ago, because I didn't know I was even going to do this. I was watching people, but I knew I won money on betting, and I just started. I used my phone, and then I had that Mike Tyson picture. My first video is just me sitting there. That's behind me, and I just start breaking a card down. Had a couple people comment on it, so I'm like, cool, I'll keep going, and yeah, man, just build it up over time. But with Ulberg and Ihor, man, I like Ulberg here. He earned my respect because I want to say I bet him against Kennedy, lost money, but then against Tafan, and I bet him against Charant too. But then that fight was just so terrible. And then the next time I faded him against Tafan, and I faded him against Nicolau, and he earned my respect, dude. So his striking's so clean, and Ior's striking so not clean. And I just think Ulberg, like, Ior's perfect opponent for him, just like these other dudes. He's going to be coming forward, throwing big shots, and Ulberg's just going to be waiting for that and hit him with big, like, dude, he trains with Israel Adesanya every day. Like, there's no way what Ior does is going to be Ihor, whatever his name is. But I see him getting hit. The dude's tough, though. that's why I wanted to bet the under on this too. But like, this could be a different fight. Like, if Ihor comes out and actually is smart and doesn't rush forward and just tries to have like a decent kickboxing match, try to mix in some wrestling, I can see it going over that round and a half. I don't think he'll be able to land takedowns, but maybe just clinch him or something. But if he just comes out crazy, throwing crazy punches and gasses himself out, he's going to get finished. But Wilberg, like you've seen against Trump, can go slow and just take his time. So I literally was standing at the kiosk today, like, man, I'm gonna bet this under. But then I got burnt last week, dude, on the Ribeiro. I had it under 1.5.
Oh man,
He was
yeah,
one, dude.
yeah,
Everything last week that could go wrong went wrong for me. Like, so Ribeiro's hitting him. I thought it was going to be over in the first round. The ref's about
yeah.
to stop it. Time runs out. Second round, he just holds him up against cage for like 2 minutes and then beats the brakes off him. I'm like, what the hell? Then I had Gilbert Burns blows his shoulder out in the first round. Then I
Yeah.
had
Oh man.
Cejudo lost the split decision, which it was close, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what'd you think about that? I don't mean to get sidetracked from this card, but what did you think
Right.
of that
Um,
decision? Did you have Henry winning?
when I watched it live, and see, I had money on Henry, so that always makes it a little different. But I think I kind of felt like Aljo won 3. Like, because even when
Mm,
they were about to announce it, like, I didn't go over like, yeah, Henry won 3 out of 5. I was grabbing my ticket
mm.
to rip it up. I'm like, and then when they
Yeah.
did the split, I'm like, okay, maybe I got a chance,
Ma-
because you never know. But I'll have to rewatch it back doing tape again. But I thought in my mind, I thought Aljo won. Like, I didn't feel good when it got. I know Cejudo won, but Aljo's leg kicks, man, were really effective, dude.
Yeah.
Him training with Rob, that's one thing I should have factored in on that more. Is that, like, he's training with Rob every day, dude. Your cardio is going to be
Yeah.
better. Your strut, everything. So I should have. But I like Ulberg. I do think he gets the KO within the round and a half, but I couldn't bet it. And I got him at minus 280, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't, minus 400 and 430 and all that.
So we got a welterweight in our featured bout. We got Daniel Rodriguez. We got Ian Gary. Now, Ian Gary, he had a dicey last fight, but he came out on top. That third round was phenomenal. The striking that he put together in that round, it just seemed like he needed to get his bell rung to wake himself up, and then he just went on a tear. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
phenomenal victory for him. But do you think with that win and the fights that he's had up to this point, do you think that he's ready for a guy like D-Rod? D-Rod's been fighting some of the higher ranked guys. Like, he just fought Neil Magny. He was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. He had the fight with Leach. So do you think Ian Gary is ready for this, and how do you think he does?
I do. Another dude that earned my respect. I wanted to fade Ian Gary, but I've just been betting his overs, which I did again this time. That's what I really like. But I really do like Ian Gary here. He's going to be faster. He's got way more weapons with the kicks, and what I really like is what he did with Kenan Song, was tearing up his lead leg with leg kicks, dude. And Daniel Rodriguez, he's going to be able to hit him with the inside leg kicks because Daniel's a lefty, and he's heavy on his lead leg because he's a boxer. So I feel like he's going to be able to use them, take away a lot of the movement, and just beat Dan. I mean, it's going to be a good fight. He's not going to work him over, but I just think he's going to be too quick. And what really showed me, like, I think I bet Gabe Green against Ian Gary because he was a huge underdog. But that showed me, dude, he's got the dog in him, and he's got great cardio, because Gabe Green came at him the whole time, wrestled him, everything. And not saying Gabe Green is the greatest fighter in the world, but he's like a good fighter, and he's a dog, and Ian Gary handled him accordingly, like all 3 rounds. Everything, toughness, cardio, everything checked out for me. So I think it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be probably I'm going to have the most money on this fight, to be honest. And what I did, I bet Ian Gary by decision. I got that at plus 120 because Daniel Rodriguez is tough as hell. Ian Gary goes the decision a lot anyways, like with Gabe Green. Who else he fought? The dude he just fought outside of the UFC. Can't remember his name, but they went to decision. Then Daniel Rodriguez, when he fights tough people, Mike Perry, all these different guys, he goes the decision with them. And I think it's going to be a good striking match. I don't see too much grappling, but I really do see Ian Gary winning by decision. And I see the fight goes to decision is minus 130. And then I got Ian Gary at plus 120. And I just don't see him finishing
Yeah.
D-Rod. Neither one of these dudes are really one-punch knockout guys. They get you with volume.
So you're a betting guy, obviously. So do you think either one of these guys are going to get dropped throughout the course of this fight?
I mean, there's a possibility each one could. I've seen Daniel Rodriguez get dropped by Dwight Grant. You know, he got hurt really bad in that fight. I'm trying to think if I remember any other fights where he got like really hurt. No, he got hurt in that, and then we just seen Ian Gary get hurt. But so they could get dropped, but I don't see no finish. I really don't see no finish. I see a nice kickboxing match. Even if Daniel Rodriguez comes forward and tries to put out a lot of volume, I think Ian Gary's going to counter him. That's what he likes to do. That's why I always bet the over, because he just backs up and he's waiting to counter dudes usually. And then when he went forward on Song is when he got dropped. So I think it's going to be a good stand-up fight, and with two tough dudes, you know, and goes to decision. With Ian Gary winning, I think he wins it kind of clearly. D-Rod's 36. He didn't look the best against Jing Liang. And he looked okay against Neil Magny. Had a couple decent moments in the second round, but other than that, Neil Magny got him. So yeah, I don't know how much his heart's into it. And we know Ian Gary is just training down at Sanford, and he's the young up and coming dude that is trying to really get better and improving. And I don't think T-Rod's improving at all from fight to fight.
So I've been kind of having a hard time answering this one myself, but when you look at Ian Gary, what do you think his ceiling is? Like, are we looking at a future champion guy? Are we looking at a guy who's kind of hanging around the top 10, top 5? Where do you think his ceiling is?
His ceiling's high. We got to see what his grappling's fully like, because you know what I mean. You can be the best striker in the world, but I mean, I guess it's not that it's high, but it's not that high. It's like a top 10 guy because of what I mean, Ian versus say Shavkat, I don't see Gary being able to, like, because Shavkat's huge, but we got to see where his grappling's at. The UFC hasn't fed him no grapplers yet. You know what I mean? They're just feeding him like the lower level kind of strikers. But when we see what his grappling's really about, we'll know more. But I have a high ceiling, like top 10 guy, you know, which is good. Not everybody has to be the champ, but top 10's good. And he's a big dude, 6'3", he's only like 25 years old.
Yeah, he's got time, and I mean, so far he's looked like you said, he's got that dog in him. So this is a test against D-Rod, and we'll see how he does. Now, co-main event. I'm pretty excited for this fight. I can't even lie to you. I'm excited for Anthony Lionheart Smith against Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's been on a tear lately. You know, since that knockout against Jamal Hill, and then he had the Thiago Santos fight. You know, I felt like he was really trying to come into his own, you know, moving to that gym with Conor McGregor's coach, John Kavanagh. So, you know, I think he was really trying to come into his own, because, you know, at first he was kind of a wild kind of guy, but you could tell he was very green. He had a lot to learn. And I feel like he's starting to really put it together while still learning to be that kind of wild guy that he used to be. But now he's fighting a guy in Anthony Smith who's experienced, who's pretty much good everywhere, championship level experience at that. So how do you see this one going? Do you see this one being a finish, or do you see this one going more towards a decision?
Now, see, that's what's crazy again. I mean, I'm thinking finish because that's what the records say, but then you could get Johnny Walker versus Santos, where it's a low output striking match. Anthony Smith had a couple of them, like where he goes way later. I mean, going 5 rounds with John Jones. So that I wanted to bet the under on this too, but I'm like I said, I think that 1.5 from last week killed me. It just scared me on him. But I could really see this going over, but I can also see the finish. I'm picking Anthony Smith here, just for the pure fact that I bet Johnny Walker in his last 2 wins. But I just feel like Anthony Smith's more durable. He's a good veteran. Like if you watch Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann, like he just throws a beating on Spann. Like everything he hit him with hurt him. And like when Johnny Walker and Ryan Spann fought, it was like a back and forth fight. Like Ryan Spann had, Johnny Walker hurt like 3 times in that fight. Like each time they hit each other, they was getting hurt. But when Anthony Smith fought Ryan Spann, and Ryan Spann hit Anthony Smith, he actually hit him hard real quick at the beginning. But it didn't really wobble Smith at all. But when Smith started hitting him, dude, he was dropping him every time. And I just feel like when it comes down to it, Smith's just going to be more durable in them spots. Walker, I guess, could try to wrestle, and he could probably do that, but he may get submitted. I know he doesn't really get submitted, but Anthony Smith's dangerous off his back even.
Yeah.
So I'm picking Anthony Smith. I didn't even bet him because I can see this fight going a million different ways. I can see Anthony Smith winning by decision. I can see Johnny Walker winning by decision, or this being over in the first minute. So it's a tough fight to call. It's going to be good though. This is one you can
Yeah.
watch as a fan and have a great time.
Yeah, I feel like Anthony Smith normally does a good job of keeping himself out of danger. I mean, of course, the Glover Teixeira fight is one thing, but I feel like since then he's put on some size and he's done a really good job of getting guys out of there. Ryan Spann, Devin Clark. Of course, the Jimmy Crute fight was what it was, but I felt like that was a really good fight. But with Johnny Walker, I think it kind of depends on what Johnny Walker we see. Are we going to see the wild kind of unorthodox striking that he has, or are we going to see him kind of labored back like we saw against Thiago Santos? So I'm very curious to see what Johnny Walker we see, but I do expect this to be a very entertaining fight. I'm kind of thinking that we may see a finish. I think Anthony Smith is trying to coming off that loss and the injury and everything. I think he's wanting to really make a statement, and I think Johnny Walker has found that dog, that hunger that he had when he first got into the UFC. So I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight, which now brings us to our main event. Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Jailton Almeida. Jailton kind of came in and just kind of took this sport by storm in a way. But, he kind of came in when there was like the Shavkats of the world and Hamzat. And I don't think he really got the same kind of publicity that those guys did. But I do think that the UFC has given him a golden opportunity to really introduce himself to the world in a big way on ABC against a known heavyweight in Jairzinho, who's been around the block, fought the who's who. So how do you see this fight going, and who do you have ultimately?
I mean, I gotta, because we haven't seen Jailton's fights go no other way, so I gotta assume, dude, he's gonna come out, throw that front kick to the face, hopefully not get cracked right off the bat like Shamil hit him.
What Shamil did, yeah.
Dude, he hit him right off the bat, cracked him, chin held up. But dude, I gotta assume that he's gonna be able to get the takedown because he's so strong, man. When he grabs these dudes, he's got that blast double. He'll chain wrestle. He's so strong, and then he's got the jiu-jitsu to hold them down. So, but that's another tough thing. I'm taking Jailton Almeida. I'm taking him by sub. I don't think he get I like the sub over the KO here. Because usually when he's KOing dudes, it's because they'll give up. They'll look for a way out of the fight, like Danilo Marquez and Shamil. But when you got other dudes that are tough, they'll keep looking for ways out. So when he starts ground and pounding them, instead of them just covering up and getting TKO'd, they'll go to their back, and that's when he chokes them out. So I think he chokes out Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik ain't just gonna give up to some ground and pound. He's been underneath a lot of very big, tough dudes. Alistair Overeem, who pounded out Sergey Pavlik. He's been under a lot of Blades, all them. And that's another thing. I wanted to bet, I like the under in this, but then if Rozenstruik can survive on the ground with Blades, a couple times, 2 different times in that 3-round fight, it makes me wonder if he can survive with Jailton for a while. So the difference, I guess, there is the jiu-jitsu, a Jailton where he starts hitting them, it's hard to get out of there. And I think he's going to be able to take Rozenstruik down. And Rozenstruik's going to be a challenge because he's a big, thick dude, man. He's a real big heavyweight. So we're going to really see what Almeida's about. And if he for some reason, stops getting the takedowns and can't get them no more, it's probably going to be a problem for him. So, but I like Almeida, but I didn't put no bets on this yet. I do. And what I would really recommend on this is Almeida by 2nd round sub, and it's plus 600. And I just really like that. I think Rozenstruik, you know what I mean? Like I said, he survived that 1st round with Curtis Blades pretty easy, barely took any damage. He was able to work himself up off the ground a couple of times. So I think he could survive the 1st round and then come out the 2nd, be a little more worn down. Almeida gets him down. He's not getting up. This time he's trying to fight up. Energy's gone. So that's what I really like in this fight. But I haven't bet nothing yet on this.
Now, what kind of Jairzinho Rozenstruik do you think we see? Because I've seen 2 different guys. When he fights Cyril Gane, when he fights some of these more known guys, Curtis Blades, for instance, I feel like he's kind of labored back and he's not as aggressive. But then when he fights Augusto Sakai and when he fights Chris Daukaus, he's going right after him, going for the kill. Now, I think we're going to find out pretty early on what kind of respect he has for Jailton Almeida. But what do you expect to see from Jairzinho?
I hope he comes forward. I think that's his way to win. Like you're saying, man, to go forward. The hardest thing is for a wrestler to wrestle off his back foot. You know, you want to be coming forward as a wrestler so you can set your shot. You want to come forward with momentum. You don't want to shoot off your back leg. So if he can come out, but just it's like Almeida runs out to the front of the cage, throws that head kick, and then just shoots. So I mean, I know Jairzinho, I guarantee that's why Shamil, that's why he cracked him so hard right off the bat last fight, because they knew that was going to come. He's literally done that every fight going back to the contender series. But man, it's going to be a dangerous fight. That's why I kind of stayed away from it, because I wouldn't be shocked, dude, if Jairzinho hits him with something big. I think Almeida, his only loss, I think he's got he's got 2 losses, but one was like a real quick KO, like when he was a couple years ago. Let's see, 18-2. Yeah, he got. Oh no, that was grappling. Yeah, he lost the decision in 2018, but he got knocked out in 16 seconds in 2017.
Oh, wow.
So that's definitely something that could happen with Jairzinho. That's what he does, is he just did it to Daukaus. So
yeah,
man, it's gonna be we're gonna know a lot after this fight. And like you said, I think Jairzinho, since he doesn't have to respect Almeida's striking, I think he can be, like you said, come forward, be reckless. He didn't respect Daukaus. The dudes he don't respect, he's knocking out Orlowski, all them.
Right,
So that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like you said, we're going to find out a lot about Jailton. But now I ask you a similar question about that I asked about Ian Gary. What do you think Almeida's ceiling is? Are we looking at a heavyweight contender? Are we looking at a guy who could be a champion, a champion at 2 divisions? Like, what do you think we see out of Jailton Almeida?
I think we need to see Almeida go back down to light heavyweight in the end to be like a champion, and then you better wait out John Jones and let these other dudes get old and stuff, because like I said, when you got like Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades, even somebody like Marcin Tybura, Alexander Volkov. Like I don't think, but maybe, I mean, but Aspinall's like 6'5", 265, dude. When he was able to take Volkov down and just Kabor him, that's the real dude. Tom Aspinall, man, I wish he wouldn't have blew out his knee versus Curtis Blades. He's so fast for a 6'5" dude, and so big, and just he's coming back. He's fighting Tybura, but yeah, I think at heavyweight, dude, any of these dudes that are going to start stopping his takedown, because Jailton's, I mean, he can fight at 205. I think he's like coming in at like 240 now, but at first he was like 230. But he gets up to a dude that's cutting down to 265 that has some takedown defense. Man, it's going to be tough for him. That's going to be a long night. So I think he goes down to light heavyweight, though. Who's to say he can't take he can't take Jamal Hill down? Now, I don't know if he's going to sub him, but he can definitely take him down. Like Thiago Santos took him down like 10 times. But I'm high on him. I just think that it'd be way better down at 205.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see how this fight goes with Rosenstruck and Almeida. I'm glad that they made this a main event for ABC.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen Johnny Walker, we've seen Anthony Smith in tons of main events, and just like we've seen Rosenstruck, but we haven't really seen Jailton Almeida. And I think he's got the look, he's got the style. He just speaks Portuguese. We got to get him to speak a little bit of English, and then he's really going to become a star. But this is a phenomenal fight card. I appreciate you coming on and breaking this down with me, man. Hopefully we can have you on again. Good luck with your bets. I hope you do well. I hope you have a better week than what we saw last week. I know you kind of beating yourself up a little bit, but this week it's on, my brother. We're getting all of them. I think we're going to hit all of them. So
that's what I'm going for. I swept them a couple weeks ago. They got a little bit of their money back. But I would definitely, me and Johnny, man, we do our live pre-shows. We'd love to have you on the show, man. Just break some fights down before a fight card, kill some time before the fight card starts, and get a lot of people out there seeing and having a good time, man.
Absolutely, man. Whenever, man, just let me know. I'm game, man. Thank you for coming on, my brother.
No problem, bro. No problem.
All right, man.
All right.
There he is, my guy, Cody, aka Blood Money. I'm I'm honored to have a guy like him on. He obviously knows a lot about the game. You know, he does a lot of great stuff with his bets. He has a phenomenal Discord channel, and I love being a part of it. You know, a lot of the people who participate are very, very well versed in MMA. So I love being a part of that community. And I was honored for sure to have him on. So thank you to Blood Money. And, you know, that does it for this edition of Morning Brew. And thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to have more guests on, breaking these fights down, recapping fights. So tune in, lock in with us, man. We're going for a nice journey, man. So peace out. Stay safe. Good luck if you're betting on these fights, and enjoy the fights on Saturday. Peace.